to another episode of the Fanzone podcast. Your home for all things Bolton Wanderers, up the Trotters, the Northwest's #1 podcast.
Good evening then, ladies and gents. Welcome back to another episode of the Fanzone podcast. It is, of course, the preview show sponsored by Loving My Socials, and we are back once again, episode 57. It is Leyton Orient at home, the next fixture. We will be cheering on Schumacher's White Army. Hopefully, we can continue our okay start under the new gaffer. Things haven't been quite plain sailing for him, but I don't think any of us expected that. But obviously the task at hand is Leyton Orient, and to talk about all things Orient, we are joined by Paul from the Orient Outlook podcast. How are you this evening, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Thank you for having me.
It is our pleasure. I think you've been on the preview show quite a few times now, I believe, haven't you?
A bit of a habit now, a bit of a habit for me, but really happy to be here, really happy to give an Orient perspective to you guys and give you a bit more insight, hopefully. But I'm sure your informed listeners and viewers will know pretty much most of what I'm about to say.
Yeah, we will. We'll get straight into this evening's episode. So, a very warm welcome to you all this evening watching along. A couple of you in the chat already. Leslie, David, Matthew, Fort Master BWFC, David Jones. Very warm welcome to you all, and of course our channel members. You are exceptional people. Apologies in advance if I sound a little bit rough or not like usual. I am battling a bout of tonsillitis. It is as painful as I have ever known anything to be. When people used to say in school that they had tonsillitis, I'd be like, yeah, whatever, it's all right. After getting it, it's like having a tennis ball in the back of your throat. It is not pleasant. But
what a trooper you are.
Yes, we try to be. But here we are. Let's get straight in. It's your first segment of the show season so far. Now then, let's have a look at the league table then. So it's Leyton Orient in 6th place, hanging on to that playoff spot. 3 points, 2 points behind Huddersfield Town, 3 points ahead of Bolton and Charlton, both chasing hot on their tails. And both teams in good form. Obviously, Bolton Wanderers now in 8th place. It's trying to put on some sort of playoff charge. But season so far then, let's have a think. Are you where you sort of expected to be at this stage of the season? Would you say you're overachieving? And what's brought you to where you are?
We are massively overachieving. We have one of the smallest budgets in the league. We have one of the smallest budgets comparative to guys like yourselves. We are massively overachieving, but Richie Wellens is a master tactician, and he spots things, weaknesses and strengths in other formations. He's very tactically astute. I've never known anyone in the lower leagues as tactically as astute as him. And he just seems to find gaps and holes, and our analysts find gaps and holes in opposition play, structures and setups that enable us to capitalise on them. So we are definitely punching well above, considering we've had significant injuries from the get-go. We've not been able to choose. Richie's not been able to choose from a full strength side at all this season. We lost 2 key players last year. They then had reoccurrence issues of their injuries. They had to have new operations just as they were coming back. Jordan Graham actually played a game. He came on as a sub and then broke down literally within minutes of coming back on. He slipped and fell and really hurt himself. So, credit to Richie for being able to put a squad together. We've got 5 or 6 loan signings. We weren't able to go out and sign players that we wanted to. Other clubs in our league were really spending some money on wages that we just couldn't afford. So naturally, players in the lower leagues are going to go for where the better contract, maybe even a slightly longer contract than what we could have offered. So from that point of view, we are certainly punching well above our weight, and we're certainly outperforming, I think, a lot of people's thought processes on where we would be at this point in the season. That being said, we obviously didn't start the season that great in terms of the results. We weren't getting rewarded for some of the performances that we were putting in. Remember when we played you at the very start of the season at home, our keeper makes a couple of mistakes, you score 2 goals from it. and we lost that game. And your keeper made a brilliant save towards the end to keep the score at 2-1 to you. So fine margins. Against Birmingham we weren't outplayed. Against Wrexham we weren't outplayed. Against you we weren't really outplayed. But we were at the wrong end of the results, which meant that you don't get rewarded with points for good performances. You get rewarded for winning games, and we just weren't doing that. And that saw us drop into the bottom four, and naturally we were all concerned and panicked. But then from sort of mid to late November, we started to pick up. I think the FA Cup was a bit of a catalyst for us. We beat Bournemouth on penalties, then we beat Oldham. Probably seen the goalkeeper scoring the equalising goal, and we scored a second goal sort of late in extra time. And then we had then we had a bit of a run, and that's when our sort of curve and our trajectory changed, and we find ourselves now, having beaten Wrexham 2-1 on Tuesday night, just gone sixth in the league and occupying, as you say, that last playoff spot with a tremendous goal difference. So although you're 3 behind us, we've got a plus 20 goal difference comparative to yourself. So you need 4 points obviously to go above us. So that all counts at the end of the day, because if the season stopped now, we'd be where we're at.
Absolutely. And the goal difference, an issue that Wanderers fans have been talking about for a long time. Schumacher addressed something quite recently in his presser where he said, there's plenty of goals in this side. We have to stop being so easy to score against, though. Both teams winning 4 in their last 5. It's making up to be a very interesting game. And the comments in the chat reflecting that. Call massive game versus Leyton Orient. Who would have thought it? I think at the start of the season, I can pretty safely assume, or I'm guessing, an educated guess, I don't think anyone had Leyton Orient in their top 6 spots for the end of the season. And you've talked through, that change in form that saw you sort of, impressively rally through some fixtures and pick up points and get yourselves into where you are. I suppose my next question is, where do you think you'll finish? Is this, are you able to?
One. It's a million. Yeah, I believe we are. We strengthened pretty well in January. We brought in Randall Williams from you guys, who looks to be really good, quite an athletic guy. You guys, I believe, are playing him as a left wing back. We are playing him as a left winger, where he'd much prefer to be. And because of that, he's got more energy when we're on the attack. He didn't help out a great deal defensively against Wrexham, but as it turned out, we coped with their right winger. I think our left back would have benefited from some extra coverage from him, from what I could see on the telly. But Randall looks to have slotted in very, very nicely. We also got a guy from Swansea called Azim Abdullahi, who's coming, very athletic, box-to-box guy. And we've also strengthened with another signing called Romani Edmonds-Green, who's a right-footed defender from local neighbours Charlton, who seems to have slotted in and just is ready. We've got ready-to-go players. We haven't signed players who have been sort of injured and making a comeback, or loans from other clubs that are looking to get out for the first time. These are experienced, fit, ready-to-go players, which is really exactly what we needed, because probably like yourselves, we've suffered from significant injuries throughout the course of the season, which has really hampered what we have been able to do, and Richard's never been able to pick a full strength side. So yeah, I think from that standpoint, I think we're looking in pretty good shape, and we've got players that are slowly returning from sort of reasonably long-term injuries.
Fantastic. From a Wanderers point of view, I don't think anyone can overstate the importance of the game. It's a huge one. For Wanderers, it's a case of, carrying on the good form that they found under Schumacher, and now trying to stake a claim in the playoffs. Obviously, there's a couple of teams in those playoff spots that don't seem to be on the best run of form. Huddersfield, obviously, failing to impress quite recently. Wrexham as well, obviously a team that you beat. And some of the comments I saw earlier saying that Wrexham haven't really been that convincing for those that have watched them.
But they know how to grind out games. They've got experienced players, 35, 36, 37-year-old players that have played at a Championship Premier League level, that know how to grind a game out. Koroma scored a late goal for Huddersfield on Tuesday night that saw them nick all 3 points. Otherwise, we'd be 5th. So they've got experience, and the football that they played was far from entertaining. I'd be furious if I was their manager in the second half. Spent £2 million on Smith. I don't know if he had more than 5 or 10 touches the whole game. To be honest with you, I'd paid £2 million for him from Reading. He wasn't great when I saw him play against us for Reading. So yeah, but they obviously see something that I don't. So fair play to him. But I wasn't impressed with Wrexham. And how long can we hang on for it in second as well?
There were my next point. Obviously, only unbeaten in their last 5, yes, but 2 wins in that, and their form sort of deteriorating after what was a rough patch in January for them. Obviously, losing the manager, some players, and things like that. So, I mean, should Leyton Orient finish in the playoffs? What are your thoughts on a potential visit to Wembley? How's it looking? Are you
never well at Wembley? We've not done well at Wembley the last few years. The last time we were there was 11 years ago. We went 2-0 up in the first half. Alex Ravel, who's now the Stevenage manager, was the striker for Rotherham at the time, scores 2 goals. One's a worldie that would never have scored again if he tried 1,000 times. And they ended up 2-2, took us to penalties. We missed 2 penalties. They scored theirs and we didn't go up and they did. We then got taken over and went on a downward spiral from there until our current owners took us over in 2017. So, yeah, we have done very well at Wembley. We had the Football League trophy as well, which we didn't win under the late, great Justin Edinburgh. So, yes, Wembley is not a friendly place for us. It's not a good hunting ground for us. So, yeah, do I think we're going to get second? No. We have every realistic opportunity and possibility of being in the playoffs. Whether we'd make it to Wembley or not is a different story, but I don't see why on our current trajectory, how we're playing, the brilliance that we've got with some of our players like Ethan Galbraith, like Jamie Donnelly. If you watch the Man City FA Cup game that we played, you'd have seen his goal. Or even if you haven't and you've seen highlights of that goal, that was goal of the round, Jamie Donnelly versus Man City. I mean, the goal that he scored against Wrexham on Tuesday night is reminiscent of that goal. He just absolutely unbelievable technique. So, we've got pace on the pitch. We've got players coming back from injury that can make a real meaningful impact in games. So, I'm not here sounding arrogant about this. You're not going to be a walkover. We don't expect to walk over anybody in this league, but we do expect to give people a tough game. And we're positively hopeful of a result as well.
I think many Wanderers fans in the same camp there, expecting a competitive, tough fixture and an important one for both sides. But we'll move on to previewing your team news for this weekend. It is injury update. Wanderers camp then, it's looking like a relatively clean bill of health apart from a few minor issues that aren't maybe confirmed injuries. We'll have to wait and see for tomorrow. I think he'll announce whether players will be ready to go or not. Those in question, Geth had a bang in his ribs against Shrewsbury. Looked in some slight discomfort, trained on Tuesday but still sore. Didn't train yesterday, I don't think, or Thursday. And so we'll have to keep an eye out for him. Toll as well reported a little bit of stiffness earlier in the week, but nothing serious, hopefully, on that front. Farino got 45 minutes in the B team, so he's slowly building up his match fitness and could feature in the squad this weekend. Mendes Gomez back in training too. Long-term injuries are progressing well, according to Schumacher. Rico is not quite there yet. Believe it'll still be a little while before we see him back and featuring again. But Kyle Dempsey's been given some good news and may feature again this season, which would be a huge boost for all concerned, I'm sure. But Leyton Orient camp, how are things looking for you? You were obviously plagued by injuries a little earlier on. Are you looking slightly better now?
Yes and no. When people come back, others go out. So we've lost Tom James and Omar Beckles to hamstring injuries. Omar's decided to not have an operation on his hamstring, so he should be back. Where are now? February, probably around sort of April time, I believe. So just in time, probably for the end of the season. We have lost Aaron Prattley because he got 2 yellows on Tuesday night against Wrexham, so he'll miss a return to you guys on Saturday. Other than that, I think off the top of my head, we're in pretty rude health. I don't think there's any new injury worries. Jordan Graham and Ethan Galbraith, and Theo Archibald are long-term absentees. Sean Clare and Ollie O'Neill are on their way back. Probably a bit too early for Ollie O'Neill. He's a winger. So he'll probably, I think Richie said, be back around Charlton, which is next Saturday. But again, we don't have to rush him. We don't need him to be rushed back at all. So look, we've got a good strength in depth now, thanks to our January signings. And we've got players that can play in multiple positions equally as well as they play in their natural preferred positions as well. So with Darren Prattley coming out, it'll probably be Don Ball that will play with Jordan Brown as the holding two. And we'll probably have a front three still of Randell Williams on the left and Jamie Donnelly in the middle, with probably Sonny Perkins on the right with Charlie Kilman up top.
There you are then. There you have it. There is your team news. Darren Prattley at 39 years of
Unbelievable.
age. Still
Unbelievable.
going.
Bosses the changing room. He's apparently one of the main reasons that we've got such a good positive dressing room. And he's a real leader. And thanks to him, we've got the right attitude for the right players in place now. He's a real leader, and he's 39 years old, showing what the 19 and 20-year-olds should be doing. It's perfect. We've got that tremendous blend of experience and youth.
Absolutely. Some experience in there, invaluable. 15 games started as well, 22 appearances. That's quite impressive for a 39-year-old.
Very much so.
Halfway through the season.
Real mainstay.
It seems that way, but we'll round off this evening's episode and, of course, play along at home. It is What's the Score? Right then, ladies and gents, get your score predictions in the chat. Paul, as our guest, it is our duty to let you go first. What is your score prediction for this weekend's game?
Yeah, good question. I see Gary's message in there as well. Good to have a fellow O's fan in the chat. I'm gonna don't wish to sound arrogant, but I'm gonna go 2-0 Orient.
2-0.
I don't normally go for such a margin, but I feel confident. And I'm gonna go 2-0 Orient.
2-0. We've had some comments come through. Radix Lectai 2-1 either way. Jordan Hookway 2-1 to the Wanderers. David 2 to Bolton. Orient 1. David, let's hope we start well rather than usual snail pace. I have a feeling that will be key to this weekend's game. Starting fast and on the front foot will be what Schumacher will be looking for his team to do, I am sure. Matthew 1-1 or a narrow 2-1 win.
That's
David
fair.
Jones, Bolton Wanderers 3, Leyton Orient 1. That's optimistic, slightly more so than me. 4-3 Bolton. I tell you what, that's one hell of a game. I'm not sure my heart can take much more of these high scoring games though. I'd quite like just a 1-0 or something. Would be quite nice for us.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go for a 1-0 Wanderers win. I think it'll be a really tight game, really tightly contested, a great fixture. And I think we'll nick it right at the end. That's what I'm hoping for anyway.
Okay.
Hopefully a 3-point podcast to come on Sunday. But Paul, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Your time is appreciated.
Much my pleasure. Thanks for having me. All the best.
Yeah, all the best apart from Saturday.
Exactly.
If you want to find out any more about Orient Outlook, then their link is in the description. Go and check them out on their socials. Whether you're watching on YouTube, Spotify, Twitter, Facebook, wherever it might be, you can find their links in the description, so go and have a nosy. But until the next time, you've been watching the Fanzone podcast. This is the preview show sponsored by Loving My Socials. Take care, and we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.